I am so excited to share a conversation with the incredible Deb Schaffer, also known as the fairy godmother of good vibes. Deb is a healer, an herbalist, and an earth alchemist, which is a transformative practice that connects us to the earth's energy. In this episode, we dive deep into the power of natural magic and how energy lines can impact our well being. So, whether you're looking to boost your emotional wealth or tap into your personal magic, this one is for you. Deb shares her powerful journey from facing a life-threatening cancer diagnosis to finding healing through connection with nature, energy clearing, and rituals. So get ready to learn how you can bring a little more magic into your life with just using the things around you. This episode is brought to you by the How We Get Through community, where the real transformation happens. Live events, daily meditations, journal prompts, and deep connections with people who actually get it. So hit that subscribe button so you never miss a show. And if you're ready to fully step in, join the How We Get Through community today. The link's in the show notes. Welcome back to How We Get Through, where we heal, we expand, and we get through together. Welcome back to the How We Get Through podcast. Today's guest is Deb Schaffer. Deb, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and just chit chat with you and all your peeps.
Yes. Okay. Well, you have proclaimed yourself as a fairy godmother of good vibes on your
Yes.
Instagram. And I can attest that I just met you and that is the vibe. So thank you for holding space and being so magical.
Thank you. It just kind of all happened um, the way things should, just sort of
Mm.
naturally. And I think I've always tried to be a very upbeat person, but um, having gone through some big life-changing garbage a number of years ago, it kind of all led me to this place, and now I'm truly like living my best magical life. So,
Yes, yes. And so I would love to know how you got here because you have your own shop, you kind of create these rituals, you're an herbalist, like you are like the go-to, again, godmother of rituals, like of light and fun, and it just feels so easy and obtainable. But were you always like into herbs? Were you always spiritual?
I was probably always that kid who was making potions out of mud and sticks and leaves and things. And I have always grown flowers. My mom gave me my own little itty bitty plot to plant zinnia seeds when I was a kid. Um, but it was really about almost 20 years ago now. If I was trying to add it up this morning, I had my own physical brick and mortar shop. I had my own interior design firm, and I found a lump in my breast. And I was 4 months late for my mammogram, and I thought, well, lots of people are late. It's not going to be anything. So, ran to my doctor. She's like, yeah, it's a lymph node, nothing to worry about. But it literally popped up overnight, and so of course I made my mammogram appointment like immediately, and somehow they got me right in because I guess all you have to do is say lump, and so I went for the mammogram, and it showed something suspicious, and they took me right from there to a sonogram, and right from the sonogram to a biopsy, like within minutes. And and I was alone. I mean, I had no idea that this was going to be the way things were going to go. And a couple of days later, the doctor called and said that I had an extremely aggressive form of breast cancer. And it was triple negative, which is not your usual kind, at least at that point. And on a scale of 0 to 9, I was at an 8 as to how aggressive it was. And through like a whole bunch of I call them moments of God. Like, why did this happen the way it did? It was because there was a bigger power than me kind of guiding this whole thing. And I promise I'll get to the end of the story, but I think this is important. I was told that I had basically 2 years. They were going to try to get me to a 2 year survival. And our son had literally started his first day of eighth grade. So he was 13. And this kind of breast cancer typically affects younger women. And I like pulled on my big girl pants. I'm like, okay, God, this is that chat, that we all kind of have at some point in our life. And I said, this is not how I see it going down. I refuse to leave my son without a mother. It wasn't so much about me anymore. It was about this, and he's our only child. And I refuse to show me what you want me to do, and I will do it. And so I, through a whole more serious, more these just like universal nudges, I was randomized into a trial, a clinical trial, which is now protocol. I went through like surgery after surgery. I'd started with a lumpectomy, and I guess I should back up. That lump really was a lymph node. The tumor was way down underneath the breast in a spot that, had I been on time for my mammogram, would not have been caught.
Oh my
I
gosh.
know,
No, no,
right?
no.
Because
Chills
it was
over my body.
so rapidly growing, it would not have been caught 4 months before. So I
Wow.
mean, like I'm getting chills all over
So
me
it's
right
okay
now.
to miss. I'm just kidding.
Sometimes it is, girl. Don't make it a
Wow.
habit. But
Yeah. That's
so I
wild.
did the lumpectomy when I turned 49. My dad said to me that I was now the oldest living female on his side of the family. And I'm like, what the actual F are you talking about? Like, why did I not ever put these pieces together? I mean, I knew that my grandmother, my great grandmother had died of breast cancer, that my aunt, my dad's sister, had died of ovarian cancer, that three of my four female cousins had breast cancer. But I went through all of the genetic testing. I didn't have any of the genes. And thank God, neither does my sister, and she's been just fine. So I went back to my surgeon and I said, I need a double mastectomy like tomorrow, because I still have 30, 40 years to develop the kind of breast cancer that most women, if you develop breast cancer, the kind, I call it like regular breast cancer, not to make light of it at all. I'm totally not doing that.
But I think you can because you've experienced it. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
you can make it
Um,
whatever you want.
okay. Then I went and I had my ovaries removed, because I mean, that's what my aunt died of. So I did like everything I could on my end to ensure that I could keep up with whatever the universe was going to toss my way. And I went from being purely a designer to studying feng shui, which is kind of a natural extension. I mean, it's, as a designer, you're stepping into someone's energetic space and aligning it with their personality, with their hopes and dreams. And feng shui is just another art and a means to accomplish that. So I became a feng shui master and teacher. And then when I was doing my radiation oncology in that office, they offered all different kinds of modalities that could be used as an adjunct to traditional Western medicine. So things like energy medicine, Reiki, guided meditation, yoga, on and on. And I thought, ooh, this Reiki thing sounds kind of interesting. So I went down that rabbit hole for years, and I became a master teacher like over and over with so many different people, because I think that there is always something to learn from different teachers. And sometimes it's how you don't want to practice, or what you don't want to teach, or what you don't want to incorporate into your bag of tricks. And so then from there, I studied herbalism, and I thought, this is really cool, but it's really pretty stressful and
Like overwhelming, right?
overwhelming. Just so many things that you have to remember, and so much responsibility. And so then from there, I promise I'm almost at the
Oh no,
end.
I love it.
I created this healing modality working with the earth that I call Earth Alchemy. And what I do is I will take someone's address, and I can go to Mr. Google and download the plot of their land, so I can see where does their house sit on their land. And this will work even if it's like a single family, or a townhouse, or an apartment, or a tent on a mountain somewhere. And then I map out where the naturally occurring energy lines within the earth flow, and do they cross underneath someone's house? Where do they cross? And I use an intake questionnaire, and people will provide me with the names and ages of the people living in the house, including like cats, dogs, birds, mice, whatever. And I I assess whether each of those energy lines is beneficial, neutral, or detrimental to the energy of each one of those inhabitants. And then my job becomes to clear those lines, and at least lift up the detrimental energies to neutral, if not beneficial. Because if we're not in alignment with the land that we're living on, all kinds of things can happen. Health can take a detour. Um, we might have infertility issues. We might have increased headaches. We might have relationship issues. We might just feel unsettled. And when we're feeling any or all of those things, we are not living our best, most energetically brilliant life. And so from there, I started scouring the internet looking for tools that would help me deepen this practice, or deepen my meditation or my prayer work. And God came through, and He was like, okay, girl, you've got these gardens, go use them. And so, what started with one incense that I could burn to clear the air, to create sacred space, became a candle, became an entire business. So now I not only have the products, but I have energy clients. I have Earth Alchemy clients. I have and the products to support those people and the work that either I or they want to do. And so I think I come from a long line of, the word witch has
Which
such a negative connotation, but really, in the original meaning of the word, it was wise woman or healing woman. And so that's what I think I'm now channeling, all of those strong, powerful, nurturing women in my DNA lineage. And then I think that in addition to the the familial lineage that we all have what I call our spiritual DNA. And that is, what has our soul encountered in previous lives? Have we been, have we gone down the healer path? Have we been Native American? Have we been Eastern European? Have we been Celtic? And I think that's why we're all drawn to sort of a mishmashy grab bag of things that we find interesting, of rabbit holes that we find ourselves going down. Because not only do we have our physical DNA, but we've got our spiritual DNA. And all of those things can come together and be combined into our own beautiful blend of magic. And so when I did one of those chat GPT things months ago, and I said, okay, based on all of my Instagram posts and what you know about me, what do you think I am? And that's when they said, this was chat GPT saying, you are the internet's fairy godmother of good vibes. And I thought, you know what?
That's good.
I'm owning it. Because that's how I feel. So I feel like I'm more magical than witchy, with a healthy dose of fairy kind of energy mixed in there.
Like
So
sparkles and light.
yeah, yeah. And I feel like my mission is to help people remember or recognize their own personal natural magic, because magic is so many things. Magic is feeling like, my kiddo has a big day at school today, so I'm going to bake some cookies before they get home. So when he walks in, he just feels better. That's magic. Magic is getting a hug from those people who hold on just a little bit longer than like the usual, okay, going in for a hug and now we're done. Like my daughter-in-law is one of those huggers, and she will just hold on, and you just feel yourself, lightening up and feeling loved. That's magic. So I feel like I teach a few different things when it comes to magic, but mostly natural magic. And natural magic has two meanings in my world. It would be working with, of course, our environment, with nature, with plants, with the seasons, with moon cycles, with the directions, with crystals, blah, 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 all of that stuff. Love it, love it. But natural magic is also what happens naturally around us. What is divinely guided? What do we create simply by being the best people that we can be? Our best, most brilliant selves, I think, fires up, ignites our own personal, natural magic. So, like probably in a 20-second nutshell,
Yeah,
that's who I am.
that's great.
That's what I got. So I got
Yes.
here.
I love it. Well, we were just talking about the fires in LA, and you're in Virginia, I'm in California, but I'm not
Yes.
close to the LA fires. And I do think, I'm just curious of what this year will bring, but I do think it's just that recognition to connect back to Earth, to connect back to her,
Yes.
because we've mistreated her. we've and I think we've done a lot to try to like rectify that. But I do think there's that like disconnection on a daily basis for us personally, of how are we connecting to the natural cycles of the seasons, the days, the minutes, the sunsets, the sunrises,
Right.
because they give us so much energy, and they are such a big part of our lives. Um, but we're so disconnected. So
Well, and fire is unless it's on a huge tragic scale, is one of the four elements. And it's not a bad element, ordinarily, unless it gets out of control. And I'm not, by no means am I saying that those fires were deserved. That's not what I'm getting at. But fire as a natural element is all about, it's an activator. So there's a saying to light a fire under your ass, um, which means to really get moving. You know, when you need a big change, fire is the element that you want to call on, that you want to incorporate into any ritual or ceremony or prayer work. When we light incense or a sage stick or a smudge stick, we do that for intentional clearing, for setting sacred space, but it takes an ignition source, which is fire. So fire activates that intention. And I think that aside from the people who are living in that location, so many of us have been affected by the scope of what's happening, with the fires. And although fire is necessary in small doses to clear things out, I think how it's portrayed on the media, you know, once upon a time, nobody on my side of the US would have known what was happening over there. But it gives us the chance, the opportunity to be involved in some small way by feeling empathy, by feeling a connection, by being able to send love and healing, by getting us intentionally involved. And there are certain things that, you know, I call them gossip vultures. You know, we have no business being involved in. It's none of your business. But if there's something that we can send prayers or
Yeah.
intention or ceremony or love toward, we should. And that's part of what my work as an earth alchemist does, because my theory is that when tragedies happen, like last year with the Maui fires, and now certainly with the LA fires, that is grief and horror and mourning on an enormous scale. And if everything is energy, which we know it is, every word, every thought, every action, every look is energy, where does that stuff go? It has to go somewhere. And so the earth, as any good mother, will say, I'll take it. I will help you. And so her job is to absorb those emotions. But then what happens? It doesn't just sit in a pot underneath LA. It seeps into those energy lines that I mentioned earlier, which circumnavigate the earth in so many different directions. Do you know those? As kids, we used to have them. They were balls made out of rubber bands. And one rubber band would go on top of another, and they'd go in all different. That's what the energy lines of the earth look like. So, as emotions are absorbed into the earth, they go into those lines, and then they travel across and around the earth. And then for those of us who may be sensitive or empathic, you know, just like when you eat a little too much, occasionally you're going to have to burp, right?
Yes.
And
It's got to go somewhere. Yeah.
it's got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with those energy lines. They get full, and they have a little pop, they have a little opening. And those of us who are sensitive or empaths, if we happen to be over top one of those little energy blips, we're going to feel it. And that's why we start feeling the headaches and anxiety and all of these things that ordinarily are not in our wheelhouse, you know? So that's when I step in and I get involved. And so the things that I do are so all encompassing. It's like a little bit here, a little bit there. Um, I'm like, okay, who needs me next and how can I help? And so Enchanted Botanicals was born as a way that I can help maybe on a larger scale by teaching people how they can help. So to start mentoring an army of healers, of earth healers, of people healers, of garden healers, you know. So I like that ChatGPT called me
Yes. Yes.
that title.
Thank you,
I'm keeping
AI.
it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Can I ask about the energy lines? So, is
Please.
that like collective energy that gets thrown around? Is that more potent than individual energy that you're putting
Yes,
into?
that's a really
Okay.
good question. And my certainly little dribbles like my bad day, if I don't clear it, is going to sink in because that's what the earth does. That's her job. When we have massive events like refugee camps or wars or just tragedies, those are very much concentrated because this earth is a huge planet, right? So
Yeah.
even though it may seem like a huge disaster in our local area, it's to the earth, it's not that huge. So it's all relative. Um, but it's big. And so the earth will absorb it. Those emotions, those energies may sink into one line. It may be dispersed into a number of lines where it picks up energies from other events. In actuality, it doesn't matter what the source is. The, the goal is to clear that line for all time and space from whatever is rolling through it at this moment, which is not to say that it's not going to be porous and at some point in the future be able to absorb more. Of course, it will. Like if we give blood, our veins may be emptied momentarily, but we're going to make more. And us being the little critters living on top of the earth, we're going to make more. More traumas, more dramas that the earth needs to clear up. And so that's what I think part of my mission here is to help people by clearing the land for them, clearing those energy lines, and teaching other people how to do, if they don't want to do the earth alchemy work, certainly, maybe they want to become a plant healer. Maybe they want to dive into their witchy roots or their wizard roots, whatever it is. I'm just here to support them and let them know there is nothing wrong with you. I support
Yeah.
all of this.
Yes.
I'm here
Yes.
for it. It's fun. I mean,
Yes. It's
who
so
doesn't
fun.
like, a good hat at
Right. Exactly.
Halloween? I have a cauldron.
Yes.
I know how to use it.
I love it. I love it. Can you walk us through what you see energetically with the lines and how do you determine if they're like bad, good, neutral?
For example, is a download of somebody's house that I got off of Google. Okay, so here's their house. And what I do is I I use a pendulum. That's my
Yes.
tool of divination. And so I'll start on one side and kind of connect with my guides, my angels, whoever wants to come in and help me do what I consider at this point, once I tap into somebody's um, land energy, the energy of the family, that becomes sacred. And so you can see all of these different little lines going through, like here and here and here. These are different energy lines going through. Those are the naturally occurring energies. They are not like transmission lines, they're not electric lines, telephone lines, cable lines. These are naturally occurring, kind of like veins, waterways, energy ways throughout the earth. And I also will track what's called yin water. And yin water is the word yin is very soft. And so in feng shui, we've got yin and yang. Yin is the feminine, soft, nurturing. Yang is like, boom, masculine energy in your face. So the yin water lines are deep down and they just kind of move and flow. But if they get stuck, you might start feeling like your energy is stagnant. You're not creative. You used to be full of life and energy and now you're just kind of feeling eh. So I look at those and clear those as well. Um, a lot of times where the lines cross, you'll see like here, it shows a little spiral. Those are earth chakras, energy points. Some people will call them vortexes, or if you watch the ghosty shows, they call them portals. um, and if you know me, you know I sit on my couch and I watch those shows and I scream at them.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
Yes. Yes.
You don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, and then I'll also take a look at people's floor plans because very often where the lines cross might be their office. And at one point, they were feeling very productive in that office, and now they're not. And so we either want to shift, maybe move their office. I've had clients where we've moved their office like online as I was Zooming with them. She moved her office from one room to another and then contacted me later and she's like, oh my gosh, best move ever. But what I do is for each one of those lines, I will say, okay, at the beginning, again, I use my pendulum. I create a little chart like this, which has everybody in the family, all the cats, all the dogs. And for each of those lines, I say, okay, for Jen, line A is detrimental. Line B, beneficial. Line C, beneficial. Vortex A, neutral. And I'll say, okay, for Jen's partner, here's this. For Jen's dog, here's this. And then I go back and I just do this sort of energetic visualization where I literally see myself in the line and sending, clearing energy and light through all. And this is so important. And anybody can do this if you're doing any kind of energy work or prayer work, past life work. The phrase that I think is key is to say through all space and time, because when we talk about past lives, we tend to think of a past life. But in quantum physics, it's all kind of happening at the same time, and I don't understand it because my brain's not big enough. But I have faith. So, and that's how, if you hear somebody say ancestral healing, it's not about healing your ancestors necessarily. It's going back to that time of your soul's history where you were powerful and strong and healthy. It's going back to that point and clearing the energy. And I have a really good example of this. One of my energy students, um, she's now a master. You know, she studied with me through her master level, and she was doing some distance healing with a friend of hers who was in the hospital. And she worked so hard to help heal her friend. And then she called me desperately, like 2 days later, and she said, I am so sick. I have never been this sick in my life. And she had taken on the symptoms of her friend, which is not supposed to happen because, you know, as energy practitioners, we practice setting up boundaries. It's a one-way valve. If things are working as they should, the healing energy channels through us, not from us. But we're human, you know, and sometimes we step into situations to help without fully thinking through all of the steps that we need to take. And this is what happened to my friend and my student. And so I was working with her energy from not in person. So it's called distance or remote. And I suddenly got this message from, I think it was from my guides, who made a suggestion to go back to the point where she was feeling good and strong and healthy. And so she did. And she visualized herself in that energetic space of being good and strong and powerful and healthy and clearing out anything that was like from that point A to point B. And it was like a miracle. I mean, it worked for her. So now I encourage everybody to, when they're doing any kind of clearing, whether it's personal clearing in your space or within yourself, ask that that energy be cleared through all time and space. And it's powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's an importance of like, given the spectrum of how much you believe in all of this, but
Mhm.
the idea of clearing is so important. And I was just talking about this on another episode, but the idea of clearing even the way or the perspectives that you see other people, right? And to invite something new in. And so I think it's that same concept of like, is how can you kind of integrate that in your daily life or weekly or something to really kind of start fresh, especially now when there's so much shit happening. Like every other minute you're like bombarded by something, and so it's almost like this task to how can you keep kind of
Right.
clearing the energy so that you stay grounded, you stay clear, and you stay open for like good to come in.
Right. Right. Because as empaths, I see us as carrying these backpacks. And throughout the day, we toss rocks in our backpacks, most of which do not belong to us. And so then we start feeling heavy and sad, maybe, and tired, and unable to do our mission, which is not always, you know, we can't all be Mother Teresa. It's just not going to happen. But we are all miracle workers in tiny everyday ways. You know, by holding a door for someone who would have been struggling because she had a bunch of bags, that's going to make her feel better
Yeah.
and seen and cared for in that moment. And then maybe she'll take that and pass it forward. That's our mission, is to be
Mm-hmm.
good people. You know, it's
Yes.
easy. It's easy, but we as people who are meant to do this work, we take on things a lot more quickly, and we tend to get bogged down a lot more quickly than someone who is not maybe open or not wired to do this work. And that's fine. I mean, I am not judging anybody for not. Can you imagine what it would be like if the whole world
Yeah, yeah,
there'd be
yeah.
nothing for us to do?
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Us empaths, we'd be bored.
Yeah, right.
So, but it's very important to clear our energy. And an easy peasy way to do that is by, I mean, I take a shower in the morning, and I think that helps to clear me. It helps to set my energy for the day. I've heard it said that angels respond to the oxygen that's created when the water falls. And I love that. So if I have a discussion that needs to be had with some of those type people, I'll usually do it then. Taking a bath at night is also a way of cleansing the day off. I have a scrub, a hand scrub that I created because after my mom passed away 8 years ago now, my dad had just been diagnosed with dementia. And we were so blessed to find a 24-hour care person for him. And he's still with us, still with our care person. But at the time, she was going from client to client. And it got me thinking of like a bee, how a bee goes from flower to flower collecting pollen. And I thought, well, she's kind of doing that too. So I want to create something for her, but also for teachers and other caregivers and nurses and moms, those of us who are empaths who collect energy throughout the day. So I created a scrub that people can use, and it's a visual, and that's really what magic is. Magic is a visual. It's an art, it's the art of change, doing something intentionally to change. And so, anyway, this scrub is just like so great. And it's a sugar scrub. And so people can just take a little scoop of it and wet your hands, and it foams up and it makes them all soft and smooth. But the magic is that as they're using this, they're envisioning everything that they picked up throughout the day, like the little bee, is is being cleared off. Could they do this with regular soap? Yeah, totally. Could they do it without soap? Totally. But we're kind of wired to like the stuff, We like the accessories.
Yes. And I think, again, to your point, what magic is like the intention of it, the feeling of it, and then the ritual of it, the 3D
Yes.
parts. So there are 5D is like, okay, the spiritual, the mental, the things, the unseen connected with the seen, the 3D,
Exactly.
that makes it holistic because we are living in the 3D, because we have a body, because we have eyes. Like there needs to be, and I think that's where, again, that word, I don't know what the word really means, but ritual comes to mind. Is like you are setting something up, or you're lighting a candle, or you're doing something with your hands and your eyes that kind of complete that
Yes.
feeling
Yeah.
and that magic.
Exactly. Exactly. It's the physical part of the unseen. So it's the seen part of the unseen, and it takes both. And so my job is to help people connect the two, and to create tools for people to release energy or to get clear on something or to manifest. They can totally do it themselves, but sometimes we
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 need a little
feel
direction.
like we want another expert to tell us how to do it, because maybe I'm not feeling so confident in how to, I mean, that's why we pay people to
Yes.
manage our social media or build our websites, because they're the experts. in those things. And so I want to be a resource for people to learn how to connect the seen with the unseen, or the other way around, the unseen with what can they use, what tangible tool can they use to make that magical connection. But I always make sure, and this is what really cheeses me off about so many people in the magical, witchy field, is that they'll say, buy this candle, buy this incense, and you'll be able to do this. And it doesn't happen that way. It's like if you need to you want to hang a picture on your wall. So you get the nail and you hold it up there, and then you have to pick up the hammer. And sometimes I do use a mouse, but you pick up the hammer and hammer it in. You have to pick up the hammer. The hammer doesn't levitate itself. So that candle, that incense, that sage stick is not going to like do the work.
Which is a very good point, because it does take away from your own power and your own intention, and it's externally saying you need this thing, versus it's really the other way around. This is just you pouring your energy into an external thing.
Exactly. And this might be a tool, a prop. And that's what I say magic is, or a spell. A spell is prayer with props,
Oh, I love
right?
that.
Isn't
Love
that
that.
good? It's prayer
Yes.
with props. It's the same intention of altering, of shifting what we see as our fate, as our path, as, what's happening next. We can change that. And we do that by getting clear on what is it that we want? What's not working for me? What needs to change? And how do I make that change? And then, oh yeah, there are these people who make these really groovy tools that make it more fun to accomplish that change.
And less overwhelming. Yeah.
Right, right. Because I've already, me or, any other maker out there has already brought together the crystals and the oils and made this pretty tool that that may or may not, help you do your work, but it's not going to do the work for you. So,
I love that. In the as we're talking about clearing, are there any herbs or flowers that are good for clearing?
oh, tons. And they're probably things that people are growing in their gardens. For example, rosemary. You could easily even buy rosemary at the grocery store. So if sage, for whatever reason, is not your jam, you could dry a little sprig of rosemary, light that, and use that smoke to do the clearing. Lavender will do the same thing. Palo Santo is another good, and I keep a little bowl of it here because when I send out orders, I add a little bit of Palo Santo in the box. The thing to be aware of in any kind of plant magic is that different people have different ideas, different rules on what plants are good for. And when I was writing my book, it's called Notes from an Enchanted Garden, and I wrote it during the pandemic when we were all in lockdown. What annoys me, and I guess I'm making it sound like there's so much that annoys me, but really only two big things. This is one, my other big thing, is that people will say you must use this herb for that. So like if you want to protect the boundaries of your home, you have to use mint. And my question is, what if you don't like mint? It would be like asking your next door neighbor who you don't get along with to water your plants or watch your dog while you're on vacation. It's probably not going to work out real great. So why would you use mint? And so find an herb, find a flower that does speak to you of that. So, like for me, I would go to rose because in plant magic, we look at this ancient concept that's called the doctrine of signatures. So, what does it look like? What are its characteristics? What is its environment? So, a rose, we know, has thorns, which means she's going to be a protective badass to whatever is growing around her. So, if you want to protect your home, you want to protect your desk, your workspace, I would use rose. For wealth, a lot of people have their own ideas on that, but I would go back to the doctrine of signatures. What is the color of wealth to you? In feng shui, it might be gold, right? So you might want to find a plant like calendula that has bright gold flowers. I'm looking at yesterday's bowl of popcorn here. This could be another example, buttery popcorn. You know, use what you've got handy. It's all about symbolism. You know, what does something symbolize to you? That's where your personal magic, your personal practice is going to be the most powerful when it means something to you, not what I say. My job is to just give you ideas. You know, it's a starting point for you to get creative and create your own magic. My magic is not going to be the same as somebody else's. I can I can maybe give you ideas on how to start a magical practice, but it's called practice because you're the one doing it. I mean, you don't go to soccer practice and say, "Oh, I went to soccer practice," and you sat on the sidelines.
Right. And that coach is like coaching you to be the best player for you, like to be the best you.
Yes, yes. You're not going to be the same kind of forward as the goalkeeper, you know, or the same kind of player as the forward or the goal, because you've got different skills, you've got different interests.
And again, what I love about that is the message that there is power and autonomy in each and every one of us, that you don't need someone to tell you, but you if you need a guide, here's a guide. But it's unlocking the magic within yourself.
And so I want to be that person that maybe gives you a starting point, but that encourages you to see and honor and explore your own magic. Like I want you to have fun with it. You know, bake cookies because or maybe bake cookies with all yellow M&Ms because
Mm,
you
yes.
want to call in some wealth. I mean, get
I love
silly
that.
with it. The universe has the biggest sense of humor of all of us. And I mean, just think at the wacky things that happen in your life and you say, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this happened. It's because somebody bigger than us is like,
Check this out.
yeah, I
This would
think
be
Jen
fun.
needs to have a big laugh today.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, Deb, well, thank you so much for coming on. I just want to be in your energy all the time. So I'm coming to Virginia.
Come. Yes. We'll just be spiritual besties online.
Yes, yes. Can you tell people a little bit of like what your services are, what you sell
Sure.
in the shop, and any other things you have
Yeah,
coming up?
yeah. In fact, on my website, I have one of my tabs, obviously, because I sell things, is my online store. So it's called Shop. And in there, you'll find all of my tools to help you do your own magic. I've got candles and incense and
Hand
soaps
scrub.
and hand scrub, all kinds of fun things. There's another tab that's called services, courses and services. So I've got 3 courses rolling out soon. A revamp of my plant magic class, which I've always taught I call it in person, but it's by Zoom. So it's live. but I'll be reformatting that into an evergreen format. Then I'm doing a new course called Natural Magic, A Guide to Enchantment. And then I have another new course coming out called A Modern Guide to Floriography. And floriography is the ancient through modern secret language of plants. Like, what do they all mean? And what kind of message, what kind of secret can you create or listen to with these plants? And then my services are, I've got energy medicine, which I'll see people either in person or distance, and that works just as well as in person because energy is everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's all about the intent of connecting soul to soul with someone. I've got my Earth Alchemy. I've got a whole page of freebies where people could download my, if people follow the wheel of the year, which is like the solstices and the equinoxes and those the cross quarter days in between. Like tomorrow actually is Imbolc, which is I know when this airs will be well past that, and probably when this airs it'll be past the spring equinox too. But I write an enchantment guide for each one of those holidays. So it's all about what's the history, what are the rituals, how can we celebrate this to bring more depth and meaning and magic into our lives. And but if they go to freebies, they'll see like 5 or 6 different downloads that they might love
They're
to get
great.
into.
I already downloaded them. So
Oh, good. More to come, my friend.
yes, yes. And then tell us about your monthly membership.
Yes, so this is new. It's just rolling out. And for those witchy kind of magical people out there, you might have heard of a term called a grimoire or a book of shadows. And these are basically notebooks where people historically, healers, witches, whomever, medical type people, monks, would write down their formulas, their potions, their prayers, so that they would have them in a notebook, in a record. They're like scrapbooks for information. And so since I am very much a sun girl, I mean, the light is, can't get here soon enough for me. I'm calling this my book of light. And in my newsletters, I will often include graphics or descriptions of something, and I'll say, don't forget to download this to your book of light. So I'm kind of formalizing that, and every month people will be able to sign up for a membership and automatically get downloads that include maybe 12 different graphic affirmations for the month. There's a magical ritual. There is what are the full and new moon energies? How can we harness the constellation that they're going through? There's what's called a monograph, which means I take one
Yeah.
plant and I talk about what are its what are its petals like? What do its leaves look like? And then on the next page, what are all of its magical properties? What can we use those things for? There are the
I love that. I think
symbols
that's
of the
perfect
month. So
for
it's jam packed with
people that knew they were
everything
witches
that
in a past
people
life. And
might
like,
want to take
yeah,
away,
hello.
might want to print out in a full, 8.5 by 11 notebook size, full color, to start building their own magical scrapbook, their own book of light. So,
Watch me. It's the same.
I mean,
Yes,
most of us who were
exactly.
doing this work,
Yeah.
we
So it just feels
were.
like a good
And we were
container of,
persecuted, we were run
I
out
think
of
it's
town.
simplified, it's
So we
unique,
hid
it's
that word.
timely, and so it
And it's
feels like you
still a
can kind of
trigger
move
word
the
for a
needle
lot
of
of
your
people.
spiritual
And they
practice
say, well,
very
how can you be a
seamlessly.
Catholic
So
and be a
I'm excited
witch?
for it. Yeah.
It's history, dude.
Yeah, in your own
Most
backyard.
of us were.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. Deb, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for finding me and having me on and allowing me to just rattle on about what I love to do.
I love it. And we'll put all of that in the show notes as well. We'll put the membership, the shop, and that hand scrub
Okay.
and the freebies.
I'll get busy making more.
Yes. Okay, thanks, Deb.
Okay, thanks, Jen. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to our show. If you are loving what you're hearing, give us a review up on Apple Podcasts as it helps our little show grow. And we'll see you next time.